Hi. So, if you are someone working with NextAuth beta version or auth.js beta version, okay, so the name of that particular package is NextAuth beta. So, if you are working with that particular, uh, you know, package, then in some cases you will be getting callback route error and credential signing error. So, in this video, I'll walk you through the solution, and after watching the solution, I'm 100% confident that you will not get any kind of error. You'll be able to handle all sorts of potential errors that may arise. Okay, so please watch this video. So why do we get this callback route error and credential signing error? Okay, so what happens when something goes wrong with the credentials not matching or something like that? And in that case, you get this credential signing error. Okay, and callback route error happens in situations. So let's say if you are passing, wrong argument, and some other, unexpected error is happening in that situation, this callback route error is going to be, there. So what happens right now? I think in their beta version, there is no way to actually, communicate to the user that some error has occurred. So it just throws the error, and in the front end, it's kind of like it's your responsibility to deal with the error. So I think this is really frustrating right now. I hope they will fix it in the future, but I think I have found a solution that works for me, and I believe this is going to work for you as well. Okay, so uh, let me walk you through the solution. So when I was working with my project, what happened? I realized that like I was getting this callback route errors, and you know, it was giving me illegal arguments, string undefined. So what happens is like, uh, in my situation, I was actually using a wrong table name in the database. So that's why I was getting this thing. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that whatever arguments that you are passing, everything, all the names that you are using, they should be correct. If you are getting this error, chances are higher that in your database the table name is something else, and the name that you are passing is something else. Okay, so please check that thing and do not worry about this thing because this can be fixed easily. Okay, now my approach is really simple. What I did, let's say you have a login form on the front end side. What you do, you need to first validate the email and password so that like you are passing the email and password in the uh, in this kind of like the structure that is being expected by the authorized function. So the moment you have validated the schema for the email and password, like the correct format, then you can easily kind of like deal with like validation part of that thing. Okay, so if you're using this library called Jot, this Jot actually helps you validate the schema for the email and password. And once you have done that, what you can do, you can kind of like show users a message in case the format is not correct. Okay, so you can ask users like, hey, these things are not correct. Please enter them in the valid format. Okay, and make sure that this schema is also applicable on the front end drive. So right now, I have written here password must be at least 8 characters. So make sure that in the registration form the same approach is applicable, so that user need to have 8 character password and things like that, so that there should not be any kind of mismatch between the login and the registration. So um, right now I'm just showing you the login schema that I have here to validate the form input. Okay, so this is there. Now what you can do once that thing is there, you can use the this method from the Zod, and you can verify that, and if there is some error, then you can show that error on the front end. Okay, so this is what I'm doing until now. In the next auth beta, what we do, we create all the providers details in the auth.js file, right? So go to that folder, and there, let's say here I'm entering these credentials, and here I'm passing the email and password. Now in the authorize function, you can like do some checking here and make sure that you are not throwing error here. You can throw the error, So like, if let's say something is wrong, you can throw some error, but that error is kind of like pointless, uh, because it doesn't matter what you throw. What happens is they usually come in the format of either callback route error or this credential sign-in error. So like these are the two names that you will be seeing in your console if you are throwing error. So it's better to return null, and automatically like you can show on front end whatever that thing you're doing. So here I'm just verifying the credential if email and password is there, and then you can kind of like fetch the detail related to that email, like get the user data, and if there is no user found, you can return null. Then you can validate your password. You can compare the credentials, whether credentials are correct or not. If they are not correct, you can simply return null. Okay, and these things will kind of like raise the like this wrong password things. This is going to raise this credential signing error on the front end, and automatically kind of like you can show some error. So I'll show you how to do that. Now, once you're done with that, you can take the user data object, whatever data you have, and you can return that. Okay. Now, apart from that, I have used this session strategy pages, and some they are like callbacks to deal with the tokens and sessions. What are the like how you extract the session information on the front end. So these are like details that I hope you are familiar with. Now let's move on and let's work with this sign function. Okay, signing method that is provided. Okay, now let's say this is my login form component and this is my form. Now what I'm doing, I'm using a server action to accept the like input and send it um, to the backend. Okay, so here I'm using this form action, and you are kind of like this is coming from here use action state, and here I'm like passing this server action login user, and then here I have this object which contains error or success. Okay, so these are going to be the state. Now in the login user like server action function, what I am doing, I'm kind of like using this object error and success, so that on the front end I can show some like uh, signal to the user like here something went wrong or something like that. Okay, now here again this is the same function that I showed you earlier. Like here I'm taking the email and password from the form data, and then I'm doing the validation using the zord, and if something went wrong I can simply pass that using this error or success. Now the thing is, now I have to use the signing method provided by the Next.js. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a try catch block. Okay, so here notice I'm using this try and catch. Now what's going to happen if let's say if you are running this await signing credential email password, and then I'm kind of like redirecting to the dashboard. Now here I'm returning error as null and success is login successful redirecting. Okay, so his message you can like bring on the front end using the state dot success approach. Now in the cache part, it is going to catch all sort of error that is coming out, right? So all types of error that's coming here. Now the approach that I have applied here in order to figure out whether it is callback error or whether it is like callback out error, or whether it is credential sign-in error. I'm simply going to check if the error is an instance of auth error. Okay, and if the auth error is of type credential sign-in error or callback route error, then I'm simply going to return invalid email or password. Try again, right? And here success is null. Okay, and in other cases I can simply just write an authentication error occurred. Okay, and now apart from that, I have also finally used this return in case something unexpected happened that is gone like these things. So in that case you can do this. And now what I am doing here is it is kind of like I'll come back to this thing. Let me first tell you that the logic here is to use try and catch block, and in the catch block you have to figure out the instance of the auth error, and if the auth error type is a credential sign-in error, callback route error, you can return something. Otherwise, like you can do other processing. So the thing here is to use the try and catch block, capture the error, figure it out whether it is coming from the credential sign in error or callback route error. Then you can simply send some message on the front end like signal in this object format, and that we can use on the front end to show user that something went wrong. Okay, so this is how you are going to deal with that. Otherwise, if you are not implementing this, you'll always see the next year showing you that modal and it. No, it's kind of like it's not a good experience. Okay. Now here what I am doing, if error and type of error is object message in error and type of error message equal to string and error message includes next redirect. Okay. And then I'm throwing this error. Now what I'm doing here is, so let's say if I'm trying to redirect to the dashboard, what happens if you're using the try and catch block? In that situation, you will be capturing the redirect, next redirect error, which is used by Next.js behind the scene to redirect user to a particular page. But if you're catching this particular error here in the catch block, Next.js will not be able to redirect you. So in order to redirect the user, what you can do, you can simply rethrow that error so that Next.js can actually get that error and it can send user to the page that you are sending here, dashboard. Okay. Now, this is something that you can do on the front end as well using the use router. So you can use this use router and use effect. And in the use effect, you can push the off once the signing has been finished, or when the state that is right here, this state dot success is kind of like there is some state dot success. In that situation, you can kind of like, after that, you can use effects to redirect user using the use router. So that is also another approach. But I think I prefer this approach on the server side so that I can redirect user to the dashboard page. Okay, so this is my approach here, and I think this fixed the entire issue that I was getting. Okay, now let me summarize this for you. So first of all, you need to create a login form, and then um, make sure that you are verifying the user input in the expected format so that user can initially get signal that hey, these things are required in this format, and make sure that the same validation is applicable on the registration page so that like email and password should not kind of like mismatch, like formatting should not mismatch. Now this is going to solve half of the problems for you, because if you are using the authorized method, authorized function, then in that case, like half of your work is almost done. Okay? And the credentials that you'll be receiving will be in the correct format. Okay, so this is like we are simplifying our work. Now once the authorized function is there, you can simply return null in case you are getting any error, and those errors will either appear in the credential signing error format or callback route error format. Okay. And all you have to do is when you are using the signing method, you simply need to use the try and catch block. And in the catch block, you simply need to check if the error is of the instance auth error, because they are using this class, extending this error class. So you can use this, and then you can kind of like figure out whether it is credential sign-in error, callback route error, or both the cases. You can simply like return a message so that user on the front end can see that something happened. And we can also deal with other cases. Now if you want to go with the use router, go ahead with that. But if you are like redirecting using this redirect here inside the signing, then in that situation you also need to repro this next direct error so that Next.js can get an idea that yes, it needs to redirect the user. Okay, so keep these things in mind, and also kind of like you can visit this link in case this video did not make sense to you, because uh, I wrote this article for you, and the details are mentioned here. Once you go through these codes, you'll be able to figure out things on your own. Okay, so I have explained these things here as well. Now, um, that is all for this video. In case you liked the explanation, in case this helped you figure out like the problem that you're getting, let me know, and make sure to subscribe to this channel. Also, I hope that next-auth, like they fix this issue, and I'm not really kind of like impressed by the documentation they have on their platform, on their website, because I think they are expecting half of the things uh, to be kind of like you need to be aware of before using this next auth data. So it's kind of like they're expecting that these people are already using NextAuth. But I think if you're a beginner who is not familiar with the previous versions, then it will be really problematic for you, because there are so many API references that are coming from their different websites, and on the new website auth.js, it's kind of like, things are different. So I believe they fix these things, and they kind of like, introduce a standard that whether they should proceed with this beta version or they have some other ways in the line. So I hope they figure the things out. But for the time being, this is the approach. In case you have other approach, do let me know, because I'll be more than happy to know what you are doing. And yeah, that is all. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.